Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
All right, everybody, here we are with Jimmy Black, and Jimmy's a worship singer, and he's going to be talking about worship. And Jimmy, you did a talk yesterday on worship. Why don't you first introduce yourself to the Torah Life audience?
Okay, again, my name is Jimmy Black, and my wife is Gwen, and we have 4 kids: Amanda, Jordan, Chris, and Gabriel. And we send you our blessings from Colorado, which is where we live now. Of course, we miss Florida, but one day we'll be back. So, anyway, yesterday I shared about worship, and the whole thing about worship is, for some reason, we seem to limit Abba by thinking it's about music, when the truth is, music is just something He allows us to use to help facilitate us into worship. But the true heart of worship is about your heart being sold out to the King. And it's best said this way, Deuteronomy 6:5, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And when we talk about the word might, we're not just talking about just, your strength, but we're talking about with your actions. And James said it best. He says, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. And true worship happens not just when we come together in a congregation, but when Monday morning, you wake up Monday morning and you begin to deal with the cares of life and the issues of life, and reality sets in after being at a conference. Will you begin to worship the King, or will you begin to worship everything that's going on around you, your circumstance, the issue you're facing? And so I try to encourage people that, worship is a lifestyle. It's not just something we do either if you're in a church or if you're in a congregation, but it's something that we do every day of our life. And so to be a true worshiper, it should be happening 24/7 in your life. Everywhere you go, people you come in contact with. Because the truth is, the world is just crying out right now, trying to find the sons of God. They're waiting, going, where are the sons of God? Will they arise so that we can now come into the kingdom, that we can now come after the heart of Abba? And the truth is, the only Yeshua they're going to see is going to be us. So as we begin to deal with the issues of our heart and allow those things to be dealt with, and begin to let Abba begin to move through us, all of a sudden we can begin to lead these people into a place of returning to His heart. And that's what worship is about, coming back to the heart of the Father with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our might. And that's what He showed us about worship and about following after Him.
Well, as you were growing up, what led you to get into this lifestyle? I mean, explain your background a little.
Well, when we started off, my mom had us in church when we were little. We were born in Miami, Florida, and we were charismatics. And we moved up to the Panhandle of Florida, and we joined this Pentecostal church. And interesting, being at this Pentecostal church, my mom was the worship leader, my dad was the associate pastor. But I still was on this journey seeking after the Lord. And I remember during my earlier days, I joined football and band at the same time. And I remember the football coach saying, Jimmy, we want you to play, but you can't do band and football. And I remember like it was nothing else. I just took off the helmet and went to band. Picked up the biggest instrument I could find and came home with it. And my mom was like, what are you doing with this thing? And but it was interesting. That was the journey that began us on this life of music, because I remember being little, always trying to emulate the instruments. And there was worship that was constantly crying out of me. And just to let you in on the little thing, we were created for one purpose. And above your profession, above the things you do, we were created for one purpose, and that is to worship the King. And that's the thing we fight with. And a lot of time worship is crying out of us, but yet we try to fill it with television and everything else. But in that journey, what happened was we left this charismatic church and went to a Southern Baptist church. And in this Southern Baptist church, Abba really began to deal with me about His word. And I remember one day this group called the Holies of Holies came in, and they set up the tabernacle of Moses, and we saw the laver, the altar, the holy place, and all these things. And when I saw these things with my eyes, something inside of me started crying out. Like all of a sudden I found my identity. And then what happened was, I remember being at the Southern Baptist Church, and they said, Jimmy, you can only be gone twice a year. And I was already traveling once a month. And so basically they were giving me the right hand of fellowship, saying, babe, you got to go. And so I was like, okay. And what was funny was I got invited to a Passover. And it was 10 years ago. I got invited to a Passover. Had no clue what Passover meant or what it was about. I just knew I was going there to do music, to lead worship. And yet going down this road to Jacksonville to this Passover, I remember saying, Lord, there's got to be more than this. And He said, Jimmy, I'm going to reveal truth to you, but it's going to cost you everything. And I had no clue what that meant, but yet I was just zealous. And I said, Father, I don't care. I'm willing to go. And when I got there, I met these rabbis, and I was shocked because my mentality was, okay, I know these rabbis know the word, but just show me that they're balanced in the Ruach and the word. And I was shocked when I got there. I got a prophetic word from each one of the rabbis. None of them talked to each other, but it was the same word from each one of them at a different time. And I was just, what that did for me, it threw down my defense mechanism, and I was open to receive. And I remember leaving and coming home and driving, and I remember the Father said, now that I've revealed truth to you, what are you going to do with it? Will you follow me, or will you go back to what you're familiar with? And for most of us, we love to run back to the familiar. But I said, Father, I'm willing to follow you. And here it is. I already had a year schedule planned. Half of that schedule before I got home disappeared. And I was like, what is this? I was like, what did I do, Lord? Did I miss you? Did I go to the wrong thing? And 3 years later, I finally understood. Just like how he took Israel out of Egypt and he took them into the wilderness. He said, Jimmy, I'm going to begin to show you what's really inside of you. Because we all say these lofty words. We say, Father, oh yeah, I'm willing to follow you. I'm willing to go all the way. And when he starts shaking up our cart, we're the first to rebuke him. And I remember I said, I rebuke this. This can't be you. And all of a sudden he said it to me this way. He said, Jimmy, you're the one that said you wanted to be used by me. And so when I start showing you what was really in you, you're going to rebuke me for answering your prayer. And I said, Father, forgive me. Because what he started doing was really showing me my heart, because he knew, yeah, I would have said, yeah, I wanted to follow you. But all of a sudden, when he started when something that I thought was so important, because my trust wasn't in him, it was in how many dates I could put in my schedule. All of a sudden, he started showing me really where my trust was lying in. And then what he started doing was, I said, okay, Lord, I'll go back and I'll do whatever you want me to do to supply for my family. And then when I said that, he started opening the doors in the Messianic community. And I remember the first song I did was called Aliyah. And this congregation down in Tampa heard it, and they brought me into this conference, and that just began the doors of opening and coming into the Messianic community. And I met a rabbi down there. His name was Rabbi David Levy, and precious man of God. He just he saw my zeal, and he said, Jimmy, let me show you how to do this walk, because if not, you'll run right over into Judaism. Because he saw I was ready to go all the way, headstrong. He saw it. He said, let me show you how to do this walk, so you don't lose your family in the midst of this, but you'll make this walk one step at a time. And it has been just the grace of Abba that has helped me to do that. Even now, he's entered another mentor into my life, Pastor Curtis Taylor in Colorado. And what has happened is we need these mentors so that we can stay balanced, so we can stay on the path, because none of us can make it out there being Lone Rangers. And unfortunately, we think we can, but the truth is we can't, because without that, there's certain things in our lives we don't see, but they see. That Abba brings these people into your life for a reason, so that you can keep your character and everything in order. And so, you might be saying, what does this have to do with worship? But everything. It just has everything to do with worship, because the gods we worship write their names on our face. That which is most important to us will be seen through us. Just like I like working out, but if I'm not careful, working out can become an idol. Just like I like, leading worship and playing my instrument, but if I'm not careful, my instrument can become an idol, when the truth is, it's not even about my instrument, it's about my heart. And that's what Abba desires the most, is a heart that is sold out to him.
You said you and your family grew up Christians, going to different Christian churches, but you had never heard of Passover, and that's quite common amongst Christians today.
Yes.
But the Bible talks about Passover, so why do you think most Christians never heard of it?
Well, I think most Christians haven't heard of it because of one thing is we go back to the whole syndrome how Israel was when Abba wanted his voice to be heard by everybody. So what did Israel do? Once they heard his voice, they said, nope, Moses, you got to go do this, brother. We can't do this. You go get the word and bring it to us. So we did the same thing in our churches. What we do is we sit there and we say, well, Pastor, you're the one to go get the word for us. So instead of us getting into the word and knowing it for ourselves, we sit there like babies and we want to be hand-fed. And yet, Abba's requiring all of us to go to a level of maturity so that we will start searching the word for ourselves. And I'm telling you, not until I came into the Passover and I started getting into the word myself, it changed everything. Because, even as a worship leader, we get this mindset of, oh yeah, loving worship and floating around and the spirit moving and all this stuff. But without the Torah, without the roots, without the foundations, you can be led by any spirit that's moving. Because see, what the Torah does, it brings our balance. It shows us to know how to stay in the Word. If something that's being given or declared is His Word, and without the Torah, we have no foundation. So what He's been showing me, Jimmy, I want you to have roots deep in me. And then we've got to get to the point where we don't go out of balance, because a lot of us go out of balance, and what we do is we say, oh, I just want to learn more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. And the Father said it to me this way. He said, Jimmy, I don't want you to be a Pharisee. Nothing against the Pharisees, but I don't want you to know all the knowledge and learn the right words to say always at the right time. But I want you to have the relationship with me, that you will have a heart that is so in love with me that you'll want to keep, you'll want to do. And when you have that type of relationship, the Torah comes alive. Now you start seeing Yeshua all through the Torah, and you're like, okay, Yeshua, you're it. You're the living Torah. That's what we want. And that's part of my worship to Him, is just to constantly be in love, constantly willing to die, constantly willing to follow. Because, like He said to me, He said, Jimmy, this is going to cost you everything. He was not joking. He meant that. It was going to cost you everything. So for me, and my wife will tell you, He don't let us slide with a lot of things at all. It's like, okay, Lord, you were serious about when you said it was going to cost me everything. Because what He's wanting us to do is to die to ourselves, that we will constantly go after Him so that we can lead others.
What's been the reaction of your Christian friends and family now that you're getting more into the Hebrew roots?
Well, at the beginning, it was, my mom, which is interesting, she's like, wait a minute. So are you going to deny who Jesus is? I'm like, wait a minute, Mom, you had us in church when we were little. What are you talking about? So what happened was we moved to North Carolina, and we went through a little journey there, and they kept calling, seeing how we were doing, staying in touch. And we eventually came back to Florida 2 years later. And when we came back to Florida, what happened was my mom said, the Lord has been speaking to me about Sabbath. Can you share with me about Sabbath? And I'm watching it go full circle. Here's the woman that brought me in. And all of a sudden now she's like, hey, I want to know about the Sabbath. And now they're keeping the Shabbat. And I'm like, here's the Lord in His mercy. It's like I'm able to go back and share with my family to come into Shabbat. And so, at the beginning it was rough because, everybody's like, well, what is this thing you're getting into? But, but the Father is beginning to stir the hearts of those who have an ear to hear to come back to His ways. And I tell you what, there's a mood that's starting to happen that if we're not careful and we get caught up in our own little box. And like I say, I always tell people we have this box that we call worship. And in this box is our favorite style, our tradition, what we believe. And what we do is we limit the King to this own thinking. And I always tell people, don't ask Him to just stretch the box. Tell Him to throw a stick of dynamite in it and blow it up. And all of a sudden, you begin to see the Father moving in a way that we would have never thought. But yet, He's just looking for a vessel that is willing,
Yeah. Jimmy, give people your website and how they can get in touch with you.
The website is www.jimmyblackministries.com, and Jimmy's with an IE. And also, you can also go to YouTube if you want to see some of the videos, which is Jimmy Black Music, capital J, capital B, capital M. And that's our YouTube channel. And you can also see some of the music. We have a new CD that just came out called Show Me Your Glory. And it was recorded live at the Feast of Tabernacles last year. And I tell you what, I think it's the best CD that Abba has given us. And it's just, He's continuing to grow us and stretch us. So.
We have many CDs. How many do you have now?
I got a total 6.
Total 6.
Yes, sir.
They're great. Well, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Hey, thank you.
Anything else you want to say?
Hey, guys, keep going after the King. Never stop going after Him. And remember, you were created for one purpose. That's to worship Him.
Great. Hello, everybody. It's Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. There he was, Jimmy Black. Get to his website. I am telling you, if you haven't heard his music, you have to get his albums. They are the best out there. They're wonderful. So check out his website. Get his music. Put your comments and questions below the video. Until then, everybody, have a great day and shalom, shalom.